unpreparedly randomly typing Julia Ducournau. Hope I said her name right. I've been wanting to type her for a while. And Josephine Bronte likes her movies also. Kier has no fucking idea who she is. So she's a French filmmaker. She made Titane and Raw, two really fucking evocative and dark and penetrating horror movies. I have impressions of her, which I'll just say out of the gate. I think she might be like a 6 wing 5, like 4 wing 3, 9 wing 1, or social blind SPSX or SXSP. I haven't looked at her in a long time, but
I'm thinking maybe type 1 as well.
what?
Yeah, but I'm experimenting with it. I'm gonna see if I can see that.
1. I think she's a 1.
Let's see.
Okay. Sorry. Curveball. All right. I like it.
I mean I can't just agree with your type right away. That will take the fun out of it.
So this is her. She's hot. In my opinion. Hot French woman. Makes subversive films. Sexy, sexy, sexy. I actually watched her do a Q&A at TIFF one year for Raw, and it was gripping. I definitely feel like she has the sexual instinct somewhere in her stacking.
I feel like on a first impression, she seems pretty like dull. Like I don't see a sex right off the bat.
Okay.
But maybe with discussing stuff like in interviews, you can see more of it. But she definitely has SP though, because everything she does is like body gore and like ways I cannot even like conjure.
Yeah. I found this one that I thought was telling of potentially her having like 4 and 9 potentially in her type. Again, you might disagree, but so I don't like to explain anything, and this covers a little bit of a clip of her newest film, Titane, which I don't know if it's been compared to David Cronenberg, but I mean the comparisons are sort of there. It's about this like chick who goes on a killing spree and like fucks a car and then becomes pregnant with the car's
You just like spoiler note to no end like.
Did I? Oh yeah, I guess
So
maybe. Well, whatever.
that's like the best part of the movie. Like if you look at it, like I don't like to explain anything, feels like gut. Because sixes will be like, I gotta justify this. I need to tell my audience why I made those choices. To explain anything feels like kind of like David Lynch.
I think she has a 6 for her head, but yeah, okay, let's just we'll start watching. All right.
The first thing is that, I mean, generally speaking, I don't like to explain anything. I'm not crazy about films that self-explains. Tends to get me a bit bored, to be honest. I like to actually connect the dots myself, and it makes me more active. And then,
not to pause this like right out the gate, but like the fact that you can see a bottle of wine right behind her, I think speaks to social blindness. She's also very close to the camera. But also what she just said also kind of it does lean also to like 4, 5, 6 wing 5, 9 sort of, I don't know.
I could also say that she already has a strained face, like the scowl.
Yeah.
Although you can say that the wine is just being French.
True. That's why I like
but
it.
Yeah, I couldn't.
What are some of the themes in her movies?
So yeah, like transmogrification, like bodily upheaval, like the characters, like I mean, the point of every story is obviously transformation on some level, but she really has like very like it's like a physically challenging, changing, like people die, bloody kind of experience. And
Or like coming of age, maturity, learning more about oneself.
The two parallel characters, so the guy that's behind me and then the girl we saw in that like little trailer, it's like they're both like eaten up and transformed by their poison, by their bad habit, by their sickness, their darkness that was sort of injected into them by society. Like she was like, the little girl was like, you know, like she had like the metal plate, she had all these changes to her body, so she became like fetishistic about metal, like, and about mechanical things, and she kind of almost rejected her humanity. And then he becomes like he's like addicted to these I don't know if it's painkillers or steroids, I can't remember, but
I think it was steroids because he didn't want to age. He didn't want to like get old and weak, so he was like pumping stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then they're almost like two expressions of the same theme, how one of them finds a way to like integrate the darkness and accept it, and the other one is like killed by it. So
yeah, or like, yeah, rejecting of humanity and like natural progress, like life phases or stages of humanity, kind of like, I'm a machine, I'm not a human.
Yeah. So that's partly what makes me see like there would have to be 5 somewhere in her type, kind of.
Or like some
maybe 4.
competency type, maybe.
It's more steely and cold when it's like, say, a 3-5 or something.
Like, just look at her face here.
She looks like a
she's using a lot of muscles in her face, and she's also showing a lot of emotion. She looks like a 6, yeah. I think
you're just denying her 6, Josephine, because you don't want to acknowledge your own.
Man, I would love to have her in my boat or whatever that. I mean, I just butchered the idiom, but
yeah, I've got sexual blind Bermuda right now, maybe 694.
All right.
Audience member. So I like to be active when I'm watching something. So that's why I'm trying to do the same for my audiences. So that's the first thing. I never explain anything. And for that matter, even in my mise en scène, I never explain anything, in the sense that I would never shoot an installation shot. You shoot a building, like wide shot of the building, and you see people get in there, and then you find them in the office. I would never shoot that shot. Like I'm already snoozing inside just thinking about it.
So again, this is for image. She's like highlighting, I don't do things like other people. And I feel like this is for fix more. It seems 6, like, because 6s I feel like always have to point out when they have a 4 fix. It's like, I don't do those exterior shots, which she's right. Those are, it's like you learn that in film school. You learn that even in cartooning school. It's like you have to do the setup image or whatever. But she's like specifically pointing out, I don't do that.
It was very, very hard to write Alexia. Alexia was the hardest character to, compared to Vincent. I mean, Vincent was a walk in the park next to her. And Alexia was very, very hard to write, just because, I mean, she's like unrelatable, even for me at the start. She becomes, the whole point is that she becomes relatable because she becomes in touch. She becomes like more in touch with the humanity the more the film goes, and with her, she starts expressing emotion and all that. And it's her journey through her own humanity that is interesting. But at the start of it, when there is no humanity, when it's only like death impulses and chaos and violence, I mean, even for me, she's unrelatable. I can't feel for her at this level, neither morally or emotionally. But I had to find a way, because obviously she's my main character and I can't do anything against that. And obviously she's opening the film for 30 minutes by herself. So I have to make the audience stick with her until, they start like, being able to really be in touch with her.
Est-ce que tu peux bouger légèrement tes mains pour moi, s'il te plaît? Ok, soulève un peu tes bras maintenant.
Is there really, really only one way to relate to your main character? I don't think so. I think that the history of cinema has proven that that was wrong, that we could relate to a very despicable characters with very weak, cowardly characters and stuff like that. And it's actually something that I find.
Ooh, buzzword, coward, 6 buzzword. Does anybody?
But you're saying the word coward reflects what?
I was just joking, but it's a 6 buzzword. Coward, cowardly.
I will ship bricks if she's not a core 6.
Oh wow. To be honest, this video is the most stressed I've seen her. Like all the interviews, I haven't seen this one before. The ones I've seen of her, like in was it TIFF or something? With like when she was sitting at a panel, not in her house or something, she was way more like poised.
Yeah, she's definitely doing the head type, in my opinion, spin out. But probably because she is just talking to her computer, she's just getting like supercharged on her own like ideas or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have an oh yes, Kier.
You want to hear a hot take?
Yeah.
Well, I've got two things to say. One of them is a hot take and one of them's not. I mean, we could probably talk about why she's not a 5 first if y'all want to.
Okay.
So I was watching actually randomly a Stephen King interview just for a couple minutes like today earlier, and there's usually a firm definiteness to what 5s are saying, and they have a vocal timbre that can be a little bit thin and tinny kind of. And even, Stephen King, who's, it's an interview in the early 90s, he's on top of the world, like he probably isn't worried about anything. He's, even with him being in a pretty good mood, it's still very sort of precise and kind of thin in voice and not showing a lot of emotion. She's like sloshing around all over the place. There's sort of like a, what's the right word for this? Because there's going to be a good word for this. It's not like she's like sort of like a verbal clusterfuck, like where she's kind of all over the place and kind of like spilling here and there. She's showing a lot of emotion. I mean, you can see it again in this face that you have right up here.
She also, I'm pretty sure, has a 4 and maybe 9, so that might make her more emotional. And I think he's like got a 3 heart. So
yeah,
nice.
Probably
Flexing.
Yeah, I'm at the gym.
Pumping.
So here's the deal. Here's my hot take. Okay,
You're
so
like the guy behind me.
Not exactly. My hot take is that she's French. Okay, so think about that, because I think people don't talk about this nearly enough, where there's sort of cultural influences in how she presents herself and how everybody presents themselves. And I think that France as a culture is very like 4-wing 3, sort of 4, very like heavily like disgust, frustration, like everything is shit, sort of, just, random people in stores in, Paris are acting like snooty as fuck. So just as a vibe, I think that it's possible for somebody to sort of seem like what we think of as being 4 fixed just by virtue of being French, especially if they're
valid.
Parisian.
Yeah, like even with British people, we discussed this in the Dylan Moran episode as well, like even with some British people as well.
Yeah, and you've got the high culture, sort of elitism about culture, creativity, lots of sexuality. So those are all things that I think you can you get those things for free by being French, regardless of what your personality is. Is she from Paris?
That's such an unflattering. Yeah, she is. I think that's totally refrozen on like the most unflattering picture. Sorry, Julia. I think I agree with what you're saying, and I think that that's actually a very interesting point to dissect. I didn't even think about her being 4 fixed via video impressions, because I hadn't tried to type her for like, I don't know, over a year. It was more from her films. Like I could just see 4 in her films, because it's like a signature that I just recognize in people's art, I guess. But like I can
who
it's so and it's so sick and twisted, but it's not in the like 3 heart twisted way where it's just like like, I mean, this character that she says she doesn't relate to, her main character in Titane, is this kind of competency-oriented machine, and she's like, I don't relate to her. But her first film, her first feature film, Raw, is like so like the turmoil and it's just so self-sabotagey, and like, I mean, all of her work is self-sabotagey, like in the sense of the characters are just total
Or
self-saboteurs.
like just
You-
like authenticity, like
yeah,
sorry, I cut you off.
no,
Like
no,
nothing
but that's great.
sparkly at all. Yeah, nothing sparkly. Like I don't see like you can eliminate too fixed right off the bat.
Sure.
Uh
Yep.
so
Agree.
it's only but I do think her strain, I do think the strain in her face, I feel like this is 6 and 1 or maybe the 6 and 4, but like I don't think a 6 on its own will make you that like constricted. Also, like if you look at some of her photos, I noticed this with some of 6s where their eyes are like wide open in normal, like I have a relative who's 6'1", and like they have this thing where their eyes are like a deer caught in headlights, and you can see that with some of her photos as well.
Well,
Anyways, continue. Maybe you get a different video.
yeah, I can watch the one where this guy is so annoying, so like you can see her getting annoyed. I remember watching this ages ago, but I kind of want to finish watching this, but I also, yeah, let's just have a look and see. Little clip from Raw. Watch it if you haven't watched it. If you're watching this YouTube, you gotta check it out. So fucking good.
God, it's such a good movie. Oh, check my profile pic. Never mind.
I mean, I think that you can see the SPSX SXSP in that trailer. Like that's like some very visceral, destructive, fuck me to death kind of stuff.
You got to pick one thing at a time. I'm still working on this whole 3 versus 4 idea for her.
Well, like, yeah. Anyway, okay, well, yeah, we can keep watching. But that movie is about like this girl who goes away to veterinarian school, and her sister's there too. And she begins, and her sister, this is a spoiler alert. Her sister knows about their family history, which is if they eat meat, that they will begin to crave human flesh. And her sister purposely hazes her and gets her to eat like rabbit organs, and then she begins to crave flesh, and so then it becomes this like showdown between the two sisters. And also like her, it's almost like her becoming in touch with her sexuality. It's sort of almost a metaphor for in some ways, where it's like the female coming into themselves, and it's like eating others, eating herself, like being consumed. It's like a very, I just feel like like she has a point and a message in her story, but it's not like in a social way. It just seems very, you know.
Yeah, there are no social messages at all. It's like nor super ego messages either. It's like a concept or an emotion that she's exploring. It's not like this is the message of my movie. This is bad. You should not do that. No.
Well, and I think let's just assume, okay, let's just say for the sake of this, conversation, she's a 6, and that is a super ego type. And if she doesn't have super ego messages, but the thing is, 6 with a 4 is more about glamorizing the outsider. Like, it's more about the outsider experience, and like drawing attention to like the dark underbelly of society, the sort of the rejects, the losers, the suffering, you know what I mean? So like that's where I can kind of also see 6-4 in her work.
Or like social blind 6, like fearing the dark parts of yourself.
Oh my God, I love that. I didn't think about that before.
We all have that, like
6-5, I want to say, maybe over 6-7. Damn, that was a mic drop. I got chills, Josephine.
okay.
A delicious food stew. Oh yeah. Oh, and okay, so just like for context, just for Kier and whoever's watching, this is her gay roommate. All right, she like jumps.
This is the best part of the movie.
Yeah, this is hot. This is really hot. Like, it's like her losing her virginity to her gay guy roommate while she's trying not to eat him, so she begins eating herself. And then I won't spoiler alert that part after, but it's pretty fucked. Like, if there's like, I would be in shock if there's no 4 or 5 or SPSX, SSXP. Like, that has to be part of the package right here. Okay.
I wish we could find a video.
I think self-pressed sexual is questionable based on what you've said so far, because the way that y'all are describing this makes it sound like the sort of chaotic, transformative energy of, you know, the sort of sexual themes like destruction, creative destruction, whatever. The way that I'm just saying, I haven't tracked all the words that y'all have said so I can regurgitate them to you, but to me so far it sounds more like that's where a lot of the horror is coming from. So it's not necessarily being like it's like not naturally present or something. So it's sort of like that's the blind spot, that's where the fear is, would make more sense to me.
Let me
that probably made no sense, but
I'm a big horror girl. I don't know about you. I don't know what your horror history is, but I'm a big horror girl. This has been my thing since I've been like a child, basically. Like, there's like a very huge difference between horror, like sexual blind horror, and horror with SX in it. It's like an arid desert versus like a bloody, penetrating, like hand.
I wouldn't even call this horror. Like, this is a thriller, like just drama thriller. Like, it's not, there's no like
coming of age horror.
Yeah, there's
it would
no,
be an
like,
example.
Actually, I don't think she likes to describe it as horror, but I mean, it is horror. Like, I'm sorry, but it is horror.
No jump scares, no like very explicit gore. Like, I wouldn't say both of them. Actually, there are some gory scenes, but that's not where the horror comes from. Anyway,
well,
sorry, what were you saying?
You're just describing the best kinds of horror, right?
Like Stephen King, for example. So he has 5 and he has 6, and he only he directed Maximum Overdrive, which is a disaster of a film. But his stuff is not penetrative. It's like the small town. Actually, that's not true. It was, if you've read the book, it has like a giant gang rape scene with the kids, which is fucked. But okay, that to me actually would be sexual blind, the way that he's doing that. It's not the focus of the story. Do you know what I mean? It's like a side.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would argue Stephen King is. I don't think anybody would argue that he's not sexual blind.
Yeah, but outside of that example that I just gave, most of his stuff is kind of dry. Like, when I was younger, I was like obsessed with Stephen King, and I used to read Dean Koontz to get like the sexy parts, like, because they weren't in Stephen King books. Like, so I would go to Dean Koontz for that. I don't know what Dean Koontz is. He's a fucking disgusting old man with a giant toupee on, and he's like obsessed with his like Labrador dog. He like writes books about him anyways. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of like sexual blind horror it's missing the chemistry, you know what I mean? It's missing that
Do you think
I
there's
haven't.
do
You
you
go
think
first.
Clive Barker's social blind?
yeah, he could be actually. And he could be a 5. He could be a 5.
He does not come across in interviews the way that you would expect him to based on his work at
Maybe
all.
he's like 5'9", like maybe he's like got, I don't know what his core is, but I could see 4, 5'9".
He'd be interesting to do because I think his typing is, I think he might actually be a high. I could be wrong, but
No, I don't think so. It's his.
well, I think he's
really
SPSX. I think he's SPSX is the reason why I bring him up.
We could do him because I want to do a bunch of horror directors for October.
The horror here, like in her 2 movies, isn't about the taboo-ness, because I don't know if that makes sense. Like it's not that they're oh my god, because what's happening here is so taboo, that's why it's terrifying. It's kind of closed in on itself.
Yes.
It's like we don't care about what's happening outside. It's me suffering. I feel like, or me whatever, being stuck in a nightmare. Like I think maybe Raw does have one scene when like she's being weird and like kids are like whatever recording her, but like I don't think that's really like points to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel
Yeah, that
like
was a twisted ass scene too. That was a great scene.
yeah. So I think
She was trying to like fuck a corpse or eat a corpse or something. It was like fucking.
yeah, it was, I can't remember. I think it was that, yeah. But then I think with other horror movies, there might be like a more of like a taboo of kind of breaking social norms or doing something like socially unacceptable. Even something like what you're saying, like a rape, gang rape. Oh God, yeah, like that feels like that needs a social part to it.
Or she's a 6, then she already has like a built-in almost like pseudo-social, right, with 6. So just that awareness of the tribe, even if it's just like hating the tribe, but she's not doing that social othering. It's like the character itself is the other. It's not the other people being the danger. It's like the self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some horror like where there's a social element, like explicitly
Children of the
discussed.
Corn.
Well, I was just thinking about Stephen King. I mean, Stephen King's got to be self-pressed social. You can see social pop up with these very familiar social contexts and archetypes. Like Carrie is the prom girl, like Cujo's like a dog, you know. You've got the doctor kind of deal going on in Pet Sematary. Like he's sort of like playing with these familiar sort of socially
like tropes,
evergreen tropes that are like kind of where like that's kind of like a set stable scene for the horror to unfold.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you think about Hellraiser, there's like no social context at all in Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I guess there's like a fucked up marriage, I guess. like you know, the cheating wife, which is sort of more of like a sexual, I guess, possibly, and like the sort of crazy emotions and shit related to that. But like with Stephen King, it's like, you know, the gunslinger from the Dark Tower. It's like you have these socially resonant themes that are sort of the playground where the horror kind of happens.
Yeah.
Meanwhile with her, like for example, Vincent, like what the hell is Vincent? Like he's not a trope of any kind. Like he's not a familiar character at all. Not to mention, I chose Vincent because he's the most normal character. Like, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yes, I'm loving this discussion. Another person too, I want to type Ari Aster. I think he's either like a trifix, like the 469 or 479 trifix. Maybe core 9, or I don't know. But I'm pretty sure he's SX blind, and his stuff is like social oriented. Like it's very like, you know, like the horror of other people. Like it's like Midsommar is like they literally go to like this cult, and it's just like people like they're slowly being killed, and like
is Run? Oh no, sorry, that's not him. That's Sorry, that's Jordan Peele.
And Jordan Peele has a lot of social themes too. Like you can really see it. I think he's been typed by EU as like SPSO. I don't know if that's.
I don't know. I think he's got to be social self-pres. I can't.
Yeah, I think he's social self-pres too. Maybe I butchered.
Did they type him as self-pres social?
I would have.
I'd be shocked.
I feel like they did. I remember there was something about his type where I was like, I don't know about that, but like Us, Get Out, and his newest one, Nope, it's super social self-pres. Like, and he uses metaphor, like layers of metaphor, so masterfully. Like, I get high when I watch his movies. I am.
Get Out is super social. Like
Give it up one more time. This movie fucking rules.
The last guy you want approval from for your art, anyway.
I got to see this at Sundance. I got to see this with an audience of people who were freaking out while they were watching it in the best way possible. I'm sure you get a lot of people telling you that they couldn't watch it or this or that. The audience that I saw it with was loving it. This film is sexy, it's funny, it's beautifully made, and it's also shocking in the best way possible. So let's talk about how this started for you. What was the sort of germ of the idea? How did it start?
It's not the thing is that I can't say a lot in front of you guys because I don't want to make any spoilers, so you're gonna have to apologize if I just try to sneak around this question, because otherwise you won't go see the movie.
So like, I just want to say, like, she either is a withdrawn type or she has like 2 withdrawn fixes. Like, look at how she's holding her body. Or maybe it's cold in there. I don't know.
She reminds me here a little bit of Kristen Stewart, who's a 694, 615.
Oh, yeah.
She also reminds me of lingua ignota a little bit, like in terms of the way they look.
Oh, yes.
And
who is
you see
also
that?
694. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, lingua ignota. Larissa, are you into that?
No.
She's also SOSP though.
Lingua ignota makes this music that's very like sort of extreme avant-garde. That's sort of metal adjacent. It's kind of difficult to listen to, but it's also kind of cool.
Yeah, she does look social self-pres. I want to slap her.
You should listen to her music. You just sort of altered state.
She's so big. She's so big in my circle, but like I don't like her stuff much because it's like you said, I don't like the wailing.
I'll never like whatever this is. I can guarantee you. Oh my god. Yeah, and this is the worst kind of 6 face. It's like
nothing y'all have said so far would lead me to think that she has 3 really as a fix.
Okay. Let's just
I'll shut up for a while.
Yes, please shut up. Keep exercising and flexing, you fucking 3. I'm just joking. I'm a little drunk. Okay.
Because you will know everything about it already. The first thing is that it's not like it didn't start from an image or something. It started from a conversation that I had with my producer, Jean Forêt. He was not my producer at the time, but we were friends already. And
sorry, I'll just pause it whenever. But she's fucking fast for like someone that's speaking English as like not their first language. Like this does seem head typey, right? Like where she's just like, I don't know, like. And we were thinking about cannibal movies that we've seen and liked. And I told him it's interesting because in cannibal movies, most of the time cannibals are referred as they, and they are filmed as they. The direction goes like they are, put aside in the movie like they're a herd or something, or a group of people that is menacing the heroes. And I thought it's funny because me, when I hear they or when I see they in the direction, I'm thinking about like creatures from outer space or a herd of zombies or anything that does not exist, And I told Jean, it's strange because that we treat cannibals this way in cannibal movies because cannibals are real people and they do exist. It's not something that we fantasize about, that we imagined and stuff that we created. They do exist. Cannibal movies come from some real things, some real facts. And I told him if I had to make a cannibal movies, I think I would try to make it by saying I instead of they, because I'm thinking since they're real people, they're real human beings, I would like to understand what's the difference between me and them and how you get to
do that for the first time and cross the line where we would all have stopped, you know. And I think it's interesting to
Okay. So there was a lot there just now.
Mhm.
So cannibals are people too. They shouldn't be referred to as they. Yeah, 6 for one thing. As I said earlier, I'll shit bricks if she's not a course 6. But I mean, how is that social blind? Like, to me, for her to discuss, like, go into like a 2-minute discussion of the pronoun they and cannibalism, is that social blind?
Like the reason
I
I
don't-
Really?
think social blind is because she's identifying as the other and not othering others. Like to me, like I mean, maybe I don't know about SPSO. That's the one I know the least about because it's the most boring. But it's like social self-pres is other people. Like they're not like I'm the other. They're othering other people. So like I think that like if she's social blind, she's identifying, especially with 6 and 4, as the other. She's like identifying with the rejects and the outcasts. You know what I mean? Like,
But she means pronouns here just for Kieran, not like as non.
I mean, that might be
non-binary.
true.
She means as the other.
Oh,
like
you-
No, I know. I understand.
someone
It
who
was
is with
actually
us. Oh,
I followed what she said. It was pretty interesting, actually. So, but my point is just that I agree with what you're saying, Larissa, but I question whether a social blind would even have the words to really describe that, if that makes sense.
yeah, no, I think they would because if you're a 6, like you're still aware of, and if especially if she has a 9 fix, she still has access to like those attachment pieces where she's still conscious of like what other people are. It's like pseudo social, right? So like, but the way she's doing it is she's like aligning herself with the misfits, and I don't think that that's necessarily a social thing. I think
like
that,
I agree with you, like making that observation, but I think this is a basic, like it's not very sophisticated social stuff. It's like, oh, aliens and zombies and cannibals are evil and bad. What if they're nice people? Like I feel like this is kind of it's not that like not that sophisticated. Like
Yeah.
it's not something that only a social would do. There is I would say is a social thing, yes, but not enough to warrant like full access to the instinct. I don't know if that makes sense.
that makes
It's just like it's almost like a cinematic thing where she's thinking, why not do the focus from someone else rather than like taking it to heart. I don't know if I'm making sense.
yeah,
Like
these
like
right.
it's a plot-based thing. But again, who
Yeah.
knows? I might change my mind with more.
I think what you're saying certainly makes sense, that she's not a social dominant. Like, I don't think that she is in any way a social type. You know, she's not a social 6, but I don't know. I could go either way on self-pres social, self-pres sexual, just based on what I've seen. But that was interesting. I think we should play some more.
To see that the way we portray them as they is kind of a repression of this part of humanity that is incredibly repulsive and dark. But the reason why it's so repulsive is because it's part of us, you know, it's part of our community here on Earth, and that's why it's so scary for us to admit that. But I do believe that movies are made for us to grow up. When we see movies that have touched me throughout my whole life, or movies that changed my point of view on people, on myself, on humanity, and that made us grow up. And I don't believe that anyone grows up by
Oh no, she just said the word humanity.
thought the same thing. To be honest, okay, I was gonna tell you, like, I'd love to see a video of her discussing her personal life, because sometimes people, it could be a thing where she's exploring her blind spot in her movies, like her life is very square, and I don't know, she hasn't had a boyfriend in 15 years because she's a Volcel or something, but then she's like
Wait,
oh, let's explore the evil SX instinct in my movies, because that's the only good place or safe space I can do so.
But SXSP
Yeah.
is inflow, and that would still be towards humanity, even if it's social blind, right? So
Do you feel like, and this may not be for you to say, but do you feel like you succeeded in sort of getting rid of the other when it comes to cannibals, because it's a challenging thing to set out to do. Even if you're telling it from the perspective of a cannibal, your main character is a
Three fixed question.
At the same time, you are still.
He's like a Karen all the way. He must be like a 613 or something, or 631. It's just like.
Yeah, we got to hear how she responds to this.
Okay.
Right, because this will confirm if she's not a three fix, this will confirm.
They'll try and do sort of non-otherize something that is foreign to everybody.
What do you mean when you mean others? I didn't get your question, I think.
You said that you didn't want it to be they, you
Yeah.
wanted it to be I.
Mm.
But even if your main character is the one that's a cannibal, I'd imagine it's still hard to make it not they for the audience.
Of course. Well, the first thing is that she's in all the shots. So, I mean, we are always with her. She's the main character of the movie. But indeed, the main challenge when I was writing the movie was to build up the empathy on her in spite of the repulsive act that she was going to commit. So it was a big, it was a big build-up. It was a big strategy. I had to build up the empathy since the beginning of the movie, and that's why, as you've seen maybe a little bit in the trailer, the triggering context is hazing in a vet school. And I thought that by building up this establishment that is anonymous and cruel and misogynist and very violent as well. Well, I thought that instinctively the audience would root for her, because no one wants to be on their side. So since the beginning, we would be with her and we would feel for her. We would be scared for her that she goes through this violence right away when she gets to school. So that's one of the strategies that I use.
What she just did was, first of all, she sort of was like, wait, what are you talking about? It's that 3 catnip question. Like, do you think that your overcoming of the otherization of the cannibal was successful in your film? You're promoting your film, you're on this show. Any 3 is going to hear that and think, well, yes, I did. And then give you a whole bunch of discussion of that. But instead what she does is she sort of is like, wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then what she does is she just goes into this detailed discussion of like, no, this is what my vision was. This is what I was trying to do. So it's almost like this like success question doesn't even compute to her. She's just sort of like, well, look, no, this was what I was trying to do. These were my challenges. And then, this is the result that I'm trying, this is what I created. It's not, she's not registering with this sort of external validator of success that would be happening if she was a 3 fix. So y'all convinced me that she's not a 3 fix.
She's talking about her challenges as a storyteller. So that's the other thing. It's like you can still be I want to like break almost stereotypes or something about what competency is, because it's like she's trying to be an effective storyteller to tell her story. So she is like learning like she's doing story very effectively, but it's not for competency reasons. It's so that she can pull the audience into the emotional landscape she's trying to create. It's like,
yeah, it's like a completely subjective reference point. She's like, this was my vision, this was what I was trying to do, these were my challenges, this is the product that I've created. It's not sort of being triangulated with some competency, like quote unquote competency objective neutral observer that's grading the homework. Like she doesn't give a fuck. She's like grading her own homework, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I also just want to point out to Josephine Bronte that this is what she sits like. So I'm just saying this is more for 6w5 fodder. This is like
this is how I sit like.
Yeah, this is what you're like doing. The one time we hung out, it was like this.
Massive writer's block after the first draft, which was like a very long, puffy first draft. It was 190 pages, virtually unreadable.
Wow.
And even for me, I didn't know how to type.
190 fucking pages. 9 fix confirmed, I think, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, her 9's pretty noticeable. I think she's heart last.
I don't know.
I'd say yeah, like she's not off-putting, but that's the thing, like well, people who are like even people with 4 fix, to me, like they make me go, oh. But yes, I mean that's the truth. I've said it out in the open. But she seems pretty like pleasant, even if she's a bit
Her
dull or
body
like,
language, though, like if she was, you know, hunched over like that and making those facial expressions at me, I would not feel comfortable. She's not verbalizing a lot of
but
disgust, you could
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but she's like,
she's not verbalizing it, but it's there, you know.
Yeah, I was unable to write. And I was really unable to write, like in the sense, like I did not take any holidays or whatever. I was just like waking up, taking a shower, getting dressed, going in front of my computer and waiting for something to happen until night comes. And that was a real nightmare, honestly. That was really horrible.
waiting for something to happen till night comes. That does seem like a real 9-fixy way of writing.
Also, another thing I noticed is that like even in previous things, like she talks about like these little random details, like why do I need to know that you took a shower? Like
Oh,
it feels almost maybe an SP thing, like SP Dom. And also I can't remember what was it, like there was really mundane facts, like, oh, me and this guy were talking about this, and then we had this idea. She has this like linear like way of explaining things. It's like this is too much. Like, okay, what is the grand grand scale effect of all these whatever things? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, because that does push away from social self-pres for sure. Because social self-pres.
Yeah, like I feel like she's SP Dom, to be honest.
She could be SPSX. Yeah, all I know is like that I just don't see social, but yeah. Could this girl 6'2". They're
Wait,
both
say again?
sitting on toilets with eating Metamucil, like.
Are you making straining noises? I don't get it.
But I think that
God.
was one because I was very afraid of the outside expectations that were my second feature. But I think like more crippling was actually my own expectations that was my second feature. And I was afraid that basically I was not going to be able to love my second feature as much as I loved the Raw. And I did everything for Raw, and I wondered if I could do the same for another feature. So that was something that was very difficult to battle for the year. And I mean, on and on, I think that I started getting angry at myself and at Raw. And because Raw was taking way too much space in my life and was not allowing me to move on to another feature. And
that's interesting because, like, I don't think she's a 6-wing-7, but that does have that kind of trapped expression. But that I can kind of see in 9 sometimes too, and also, like, and maybe probably 4, it could be like a frustration thing, like feeling.
You mean trapped, like she wanted to do other projects but she couldn't?
Yeah, like she's feeling trapped by and suffocated by her creation. Like that sort of does speak to like frustration. Like I do think 9-wing-1, if she like, I think she has a 9-fix, but I think it must be 9-wing-1, and then she'd have. But I think 5 can kind of mimic 7's a bit, so it could be 6-wing-5 still. But.
Yeah, and she's trash talking herself, which is what we would expect if she's a whiny tears.
Yeah.
I don't think it's I mean I feel anyone would feel like that way. Like I don't think it's like a dead marker for frustrations. I don't know. For frustration fixes. Anyways, we can continue though.
Okay.
Now, when I think about that in retrospect, I really believe that that was absolutely necessary for me to go through that in order to make a movie like Titane, because I do believe that the radicality that you find in Titane really stems from the fact that at one point I had to say fuck off to everything, including myself and my own expectations, and just write something. You know?
that
Got another hot take here?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, listen what she just said. Tell everybody to fuck off, including myself. I mean, there's some, I want to say it seems like it's congruent with the 4, 6, 9 try-fix for one thing, but for another thing, it sounds sort of 5e rejection-y, sort of like completely mentally isolate, you know?
Oh, interesting.
No, but it also feels like a 6 counterphobic, like, or not counterphobic.
Like
just
6-wing
kind of
5 is what the point I was making, is that I think she's a 6-wing 5 probably.
like I don't care about what anyone else thinks. I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like living in your head, telling you what to do. Like that is the 6 thing.
Yeah.
Right, but it's the whole including myself piece that I thought was especially interesting. She's like, I'm telling absolutely everybody to fuck off. Me too. You know?
It's like 6
That's
battling
6.
with, it's
6
6
with
battling
5.
with a self, yeah.
You're really mining the depths here.
But I'm starting to think that she's actually SPSO, because I'm getting nothing. Like I think she's exploring the SX blind spot. Sorry, in her movies, like in her works. Because again, I think we've discussed this before, that like using people's art to type is like a kind of a slippery or like a tricky thing to do, because people's work does not necessarily reflect, like, it's a useful tool for sure, but like I would say some of the art I like, some of the cheesy poems I've written before, like you can be like, oh, okay, she's exploring her blind spot here or something, but you might not, because I'm seeing nothing in her video, like in terms of SX usage, to be honest. Like as a vibe, I really don't see it.
Yeah, but 6 is also like kind of almost anti-SX. So I think there's like, you're not going to see someone who's as like,
I don't know. Like I don't think SX is necessarily like anti-6. Like
I just don't have a lot of
maybe
context for social blind 6. I haven't really
it's a rare type.
looked
Oh, we have
closely.
Joaquin Phoenix as 1.
I'm not seeing a lot of evidence of sexual instinct here.
She seems pretty. Like her movies are certainly very, yes, you can, I think a sexual user would watch her movies and be like, yes, like girl, yes. Not to be very lame, but she in her presentation, I don't see it. She's extremely stale and dull. Like sorry, I say this as
I don't find her stale and dull.
I say this as someone who, like, there's no intent. I don't see any intensity,
Okay,
like
well,
any. But in terms of her movies, I told you, I 100% agree.
here's a full body. Oh, I guess the other one was full body. But she's repulsed by him, as any good 4'9" person would be when they're in the presence of a revolting Karen.
You can say that she's social blind because she just wears black and all her things, and her hair is just all messy.
yeah,
That would make her SPSX though. Like she's definitely not SX dominant.
The hazing and the cruelty of the mobs at the beginning of the film illustrate this idea that, you know, we are literally and metaphorically sort of feeding off of each other. We all have a desire to, and in certain ways, feed off each other. Hers much more literally, but still, it seemed like a juxtaposition to me. Did you intend that?
Of course, there is a big parallel. I mean, I was talking about the cannibalism of my character, but that reveals also many types of cannibalism, of interpersonal devouring, if you wish, in society and in the way people treat each other in general, and especially in this hazing ritual that magnifies for me this kind of violence that we feel generally every day when we hear, for example, that a politician stole the money. It's the case in France nowadays. I don't know if you heard, stole our money and is never gonna give it. Pay for it. And this kind of violence that comes from upstairs, you know, and that makes us very, very, like, you know, feel like everything we have is being eaten, you know, like they're taking things from us, you know. And so I think that, of course, this metaphorical aspect and political aspect exists very strongly in my movie. And it exists also at the level of love, of too much of love, of a love that is also devouring and where we consume each other.
Oh, I'm sorry, but that's SX right there. Like she's not trying to be typed as SX, do you know what I mean? But that's an SX theme.
Is it really? I was
So
gonna say she's talking
counter.
about politics and politicians stealing things from above.
The love.
So I'm gonna go.
I'm sticking with my SX. I think she's got SX.
All right. So
Are
here's
you
my
gonna
thought
go?
on this. When she's talking about cannibalism and publicly here in this setting, if you watch her eyes, like she's making a lot of, like, to the extent that she's having eye contact, she's got this look in her face like she's like looking for approval, like she's got like sort of big open like watery eyes, like, so I got the idea she's like not necessarily super comfortable talking about this, and she seems more heady and more like like she's breaking eye contact a lot, her head is moving around a ton, so I'm just picking up on some discomfort with like maybe even like almost like just like a little bit of shame discussing this topic, which leads me to think that she's not, to me, social, like cannibalism is not something that you talk about in public like it's the most normal thing in the world. It's something that people don't typically talk about in society. So here she is on television discussing cannibalism, and she looks nervous. Like she looks a little bit like, she's got a look in her eyes like she's trying to get approval. Like she's like, "Hey, are you cool with me talking about this?"
I know.
And she's dispensing a whole bunch of nervous energy. You don't see that?
I don't see the look for. I don't see her looking for approval. I think she's just in her own head. I think she's just like, look, who wants this guy's approval?
So that's what I thought you were gonna say. No, I don't think she's looking for. I don't think she's looking for approval from him so much as she's just sort of emotionally experiencing discomfort associated with discussing this, if that makes sense.
Well, because
I kind of see what you mean.
trying to get her point across without revealing too much. So it's like she like knows exactly what her story is, but she doesn't want to like give away the farm and like let everybody into her personal world.
I mean, she's like strong SP. I mean, that's really, I think, what we feel solid about, right? At the very least.
But I personally I'm seeing SPSO, and also like this this discussion about politicians. I mean, could just be six weakness, or not weakness, authority issues of like, oh, power, the politicians stealing what we should have to ourselves.
Yeah, but then she immediately like is like that's what love is, like we're devouring ourselves, like we're devouring each other, like that's not an SPSO topic.
Could be like a sacrifice. It sounds almost like a sacrificial thing, like six is being aware of like how much. This is actually a 6w5 thing, because I feel it where I'm always focused on like how much of myself I'm losing to others. Like it's almost like this stingy thing of like, oh, this person talking to me has affected this and this and this, and now I have less and less of this and this and that. Like kind of like a resource, even though I'm not like an SB dom, could be that. Maybe I should listen to that part again. But I need, okay, so I see social and I see suppress, but I want to see SX in action. That's a problem.
Well, are you going to give SX to people who are unworthy of your SX if you have wing 5 and potentially 4 wing 3? Are you going to give some fucking Karen loser your SX? Are you going to give dopey looking fucking film person your SX? Like, I think
SX
so
like
hold on though.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it works like that. I think it's constantly undulating and like part of your attention, regardless of, if she had SX and this guy's as revolting as y'all say he is, I don't know.
Like maybe in her photos
she'd
too,
be
like in her photos.
She'd be shitting on him, like she'd be giving him like, she'd be like letting him know in some way.
Like sixes with SX have like a more desperate thing, usually with like their style, like to really like show it. I remember like being, sixes are more like classic about like one 6 with SX is like Jillian, what's her name? Jillian Anderson, who kind of has a similar vibe to her, but like a more
I think you're right. Azalea Banks, sexual 6. She's real. Her vibe is super desperate.
No. Well, it's like also I feel like her films do feel suffocating on some level.
But her movies are 100% sex. Like I see it, but I'm saying if I didn't know about her movies at all and I just saw her walking in the street, I'd be like, this person's sex blind,
Well, maybe
which is confusing me too.
Conversation.
It's sublimation. It's sublimation.
Like, so maybe this opens up a larger conversation though about how it presents, because like maybe like our view of how it presents is very limited. It's like if there's different ways to hook people, and it's also like, I'm sorry, like I know that you guys disagreed with this part, but if you have a forefix, you're not trying to hook everybody. Like you're hooking the specific like area that you want to hook, and that might not look like SX to other people. Like even with SX blind, it's like I'm conscious of like what I'm putting out there and what I'm trying to repel on purpose. So I feel like if you have SX, it's going to be amplified in some way, and it's not going to just be like, like big boobs and stuff. Like I feel like there's like this fake typing understanding of what it is. So it's like, what are you putting your energy on? And I feel like,
so try this out for a second. So think about it like this. Think about it like this, where I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sort of making a suggestion here. So think about it like, or the way I'm trying to think about it right now is sort of like everybody's got all three instincts, right? You're not blind. It's not absent. It's not totally not there. It's there. It's just like de-emphasized. Okay.
Yeah.
So sort of having it come out, like the fact that we're seeing it, or I mean, y'all, I haven't seen any of her movies, but y'all are telling me, I'll take your word for it. If it's highly present in her films in a way that we're not connecting with when we look at her photos, or when she's interviewing, or when she's talking, on one of these Zoom calls, to me, that's consistent with somebody who's exerting a lot of control over their like sexual instinct, and who isn't necessarily like as comfortable with it, and could be using art as like a safer space to sublimate some of those instincts.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I mentioned like something to the same effect earlier as well. Also, like, do you mind? Maybe we can open up her. I think she has an Instagram, right?
that does make sense. And no, her Instagram's fake. It's not hers. I already looked. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Another thing is like I agree that 4 makes you more selective about like you luring people in, but I think that would be, I don't think it would, if you have it as like the last fix, I don't know.
I gotta run, but y'all are on the right track here. I'll talk to y'all later.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Later.
Adios.
It's one of those people who are like SP dash, like I don't see the other instincts strongly.
There are many, many different ways that I try to tackle the subject of cannibalism.
Without giving anything away, one of the elements of your film is about not just cannibalism, but female desire, and it itself.
Oh, let's hear that part.
Taboo. And you sort of make it even more taboo almost by making it cannibalism to a degree. Oh,
well, that's the exact opposite that I try to do. I'm sorry you feel like that.
No. Excuse me. I mean, I felt like you were trying to talk about it that way. I didn't think that you were trying to make female desire taboo. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, the idea was really, of course, yeah, let's say that for me, cannibalism, let's say, triggers sexuality. It's not sexuality that triggers cannibalism. The thing is that when she realizes that she has passions and that she yields to it, and she can't do anything but yielding to it because it's in her, it's eating her from inside. This is also a moment where she becomes freer than she was when she enters the movie. She actually is for the first time in touch with her body and for her feelings, her sensations and stuff like that. And it was very important for me to let's say to portray a sexuality in a female body that was the opposite of taboo, actually, because I think that nowadays the female body is considered taboo if it's not sexualized or if it's not glamorized. We don't see the triviality in female bodies anywhere on our screen or in ads or you name it. I don't see it anywhere. And I think it's a shame because I do believe that the triviality of bodies, whether they are male or female, is aiming, I mean, it makes us all equal. We all have suffering bodies. We all have desiring bodies with needs. We all want to climax. And this is absolutely normal because this is how we are made. We are also a part of animality in us that we have to let express and everything. And I don't see that in the way female bodies are treated. And I really try to take the female body outside of its niche to make it universal, so that everyone can identify with it, and not just women, and not just the people who are concerned, just everyone. Just because, for example, considering a certain scene in the movie, you don't need to sorry, that's when hair pulls on skin, for example, it's painful. It is painful,
The infamous waxing scene, which is an iconic cinematic moment.
God.
Even if it's not coming across as like alluring or something, like in her photos, or she's not like hooking people, I still feel like her focus is more on like sexual expression than like social shit.
The one that made it seem like the way she was talking about, oh, everyone wants to climax. Like, I don't know, that feels a bit like kind of like anticlimactic, whatever drum, whatever how do you say it? What I'm just like, it just feels like, oh, it's like, oh, it's just like something you do. Like, she makes it seem like sexuality is just something you do, it's not like there's no magic in it. At this point to
The
SP.
SPSXs that I know make it seem particularly magical either.
No, I'm saying like with 6, like with 6 you and SX at the same time, like there's usually like very classic ways at showing it. Like, so it will become more apparent, like the game they're doing is like clear cut. Okay, yeah, she's doing it. As opposed to, let's say, like a 5 with sexual, or a 7 with sexual, where they have like more creative ways to do like SX display. But 6s are more classic about it.
How do you feel about her being like a 6w5 4-9?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And it would be like a 9w1, potentially 4w5 maybe. I can see 6w5 because another thing with she's actually not very expressive. Like, she strains her face, but her face is pretty like her expressions are pretty limited.
Yeah, unless we're close up to her face on a Zoom. Like, I find a lot of people with SX revolting, so I don't really.
They are revolting, but like it's like, okay, yes, they're doing something. Look, again, based on her movies alone, like 100%, I would say she has SX, because this is not them doing like her doing lame stuff. Like, it's working.
This is not sexual blind directing. Like, I'm sorry, but like a sexual blind director is not making movies like this where like Raw and Titane, they're so visceral. It's just I'm not. Maybe we just agree to disagree. Like, I do not see SPSO. She is SXSP or SPSX. Like, that's.
I'm not 100% sold on SPSO. As I said, her movies make me think like she knows what she's doing. This is a conscious instinct and not a blind spot.
Yes.
But then seeing her in real life, I'm not getting that vibe. I'm getting a very kind of just like gray SPSO.
Well, this is what makes me question the typing manner that people use to type people's instincts, because like I don't think you can just be like, oh, that person's exhibiting SX with their, like, especially for creative people, like I just feel like it can be channeled, you know what I mean? Like, it's often channeled into other expressions, and it like might seem foreign to like, superficial hoe guys who are typing that are like, I don't see any SX because she didn't show me her nipple on a Zoom. Like, I just like, I hate it. Like, no, like this to me feels so like raw and pregnant with like awareness of like the human body and like desire and all this shit. Like, all of her movies just have so much of like a visceral.
Even that party, like the people attending the party are just like, it's almost like she doesn't even know what a party is like. Like, she doesn't know what average people, normal people are like.
C'est un peu facile parce que vous m'avez mis tous mes préférés en exergue.
Look, no,
Look at that hair. Like, I mean, my hair sometimes looks like that a little bit, but that's like she's like on video, you know what I mean? Like I can go out in public with a bird, like a rat's nest in my hair, but it's like she's like a filmmaker and she's like being interviewed. So
Every single interview, her hair was a mess, to be honest.
yeah.
je vais commencer peut-être par celui-là, Battle Royale. C'est un des films, je crois que je sais pas quand est-ce qu'il est sorti, mais je devais avoir peut-être 17-18 ans, un truc comme ça. J'ai passé toute la séance en crise d'angoisse, mais vraiment j'étais très
Do you think she's too messy to be sexual blind?
milliards de fois ce film, mais vraiment. C'est un très bon film hein, quand même, je pense que c'est quand même du grand Tim Burton. Enfin, tout est dedans et puis c'est vraiment, je trouve un plaisir aussi de voir des films sans effet.
Like, and okay, if you think about, okay, so Stephen King had Christine, and that was also like a horror about someone who like made it with a car, I guess, if you will, or fell in love with a car. And it was
Oh,
not,
interesting.
it was not
I'm not very familiar with him.
it was not grimy and sexual and like about like I'm transforming and like I'm pregnant and there's steroids and we're gonna kill each other and I'm pretending that my like in Titane it's like she pretends to be a man like this guy's son and then they end up like I don't know like having some weird sexual thing and then
so
it's, like,
weird.
it's so weird. It's like that's not SPSO.
And like the black oil oozing, like
yeah.
it's like what is the nature of this relationship even? Such a ugh, anyways.
It does seem weirdly SX-ly creepy with attachment-y.
Like incestuous, kind of like blurring the lines between like what is this?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm telling you, I that's the thing. I agree with SX 100% if I'm typing her based on movies alone. I'm just not getting a compatible vibe when I look at her in person.
After our typing video, Vittoria / Josephine, her many named woman that you don't need to know her real identity. We're having more conversations, still arguing about her type. I've now changed my type of Julia to SXSP instead of SPSX, and Vittoria has doubled down. So she's got the proof and I've got the proof and now we're gonna duke it out. And we didn't even invite Kier because he's unavailable today. So sorry about that if that affects your image. Okay.
Hi Julia, such a pleasure to meet you. So tell me, where did you get the inspiration for this incredibly unusual but amazing film?
It's not as much an inspiration as more like a process of connecting the dots between diverse ideas. Images of scenes that I thought, okay, I'd like to film that. That's interesting to me, and the fact that I knew from the get-go that I wanted to put love at the center of my film. So it's really connecting the dots between all that.
And how did you end up with Agathe as your main actress, her first role? Was that a risk, and how did you know that she should be the person to play it?
It was kind of a risk because from the start, I wanted to do a casting of non-professionals. Because I did not want anyone to project prior films or prior characters on this one, and so that they could like fully accept the transformation of my character.
Like she's talking too much about our shared humanity, and I think like I think there is like she has more social awareness than I expect. Like she does have the kind of hunched down, withdrawn, awkward, oh, dressed in black kind of thing. I think this is like her being SPSO.
Well, regarding the humanity thing, that's also 6. That's also
yes.
Synflow. So if she is SXSP, she would be Synflow. So that's also 6 Synflow. And I think that 4, depending on the person and like the other parts of the trifix or tri-type, whichever one you go by, can have like a humanity thing to it too.
She's just double withdrawn, so that's why she has this like kind of hunched down, messy, like we talked about the hair.
Yeah.
But then there's something there that there's something there that's telling me that she has social. Even though I did say her movies feel like grim.
Like to me, her fixations creatively do speak to not SX blind. They don't speak to social to me. They speak to like 6, 5, 4 9 with sexual, like, because that's gonna look freakier. Like that's gonna look like this. Like she's talking about like I don't God, I don't have to read all this, but
I agree that there is SS
needs
elements. Okay,
her
so there's
body and like transformation and like becoming a monster and like
yes, this is all for there's a part that says I'd rather have someone become a monster to demonstrate how dealing with their changing body rather than call a friend. So
that seems
this
social blindish.
that I was gonna say this seems for more like a 4 thing. And then there's another part I really liked. Where did it go? The part this is kind of like a yeah, the female warrior, because there's another video where she keeps talking about female strength, females being warriors. It feels like an SP6 thing to me. And then she keeps talking about like oh, women getting empowered. All this stuff like feels like familiar language when it comes to 6 with social and or like SPSO 6, like oh, we gotta get autonomy of our bodies. There's too much stuff on bodies. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, for sure, she's
SP dom.
definitely not like self-pres blind for sure.
Yeah.
Like maybe she has self-pres. I don't know that it's her fixation though, but because like sexual 6s look like different, especially like I feel like when I was reflecting on our discussion, and I think when you were talking about sexual 6s having like a desperation to them, but all the ones I think we were thinking of all have like 2. Changes like
That or
that's
like a
yeah.
kind of an overt style, like a classic style. There's a part, I'm just trying to find that one sentence. Oh yeah, here. This is in that article. It said, this is the author's kind of summary, but I think he points at something important. He said, revisit her forthcoming features questions like how to exact revenge on bullies with the help of a personal ghost cohort, or balance your career while transforming into a cannibal.
Ew.
This feels like
She said that.
I'm trying to like, I'm not sure if she said that or
Yeah, I don't
he
think she said that.
or if he summarized what she said, because in that case, like this feels to me like almost like an SB6 wanting to be like, okay, there's bullies, there's careers. That feels like just like everyday man stuff. But then you have like a 4 fix where you're like you have the impulse to like just completely collapse or like disintegrate, like oh, I'm gonna be a cannibal, I'm gonna be a dead dead body, but then I have my career like to it's like I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, like
No,
you're
I
being pulled
understand
down.
what you're saying, but I think it's like we're seeing the same thing 2 different ways. It's like so I will say this, I did ask the I type whisperer, the who from
Okay.
I don't know if he wants to be named. I asked him,
No,
was
do not
could
name them.
she be SPSX or SXSP, and he was like she could be SXSP based on when he was looking at her stuff.
Interesting.
It's hard to tell with 6s, right? Because their eyes are so like alert, and so like I don't know if you would trust him over me anyways, but this is because okay, if you can type people based on collages at least somewhat accurately, right? And so we're looking at Enneagrammer. So transfer for SXSP, transformation of the body, fire, electricity, loss of self, underground feeling, entangled energy veins, sexual energy, mystery, things could slip into something more. And like I do feel like that's what her films feel like. And like even in Raw, like there's this weird sexual tension between even like her and her sister. It's like there's just sexual tension, I feel like, bristling in like so many of the scenes. Just such like, and it's like in this weird, I think 6'4", uncomfortable, like like fear center kind of way.
Yeah, she has a 6'4" for sure, because she has this like let's live a normal life kind of thing, and then you have like something pulling you down, and making you like just break apart. And she has this like, she doesn't have the shine and like repainting of things or like neutrality about things. She has like oh yeah, that part when I was like, oh, I'd rather someone experiences their transition into womanhood in the most disgusting way.
Yeah, but that's like, to me, that's like that's also 4 and 5 influence and whatever, but that's also, I feel like, social blind. Like, okay, look at the description for SPSO. Okay, energy of home life, hovel, place to settle, stuff, higher ratio of earth to sky, people with it and images, romanticizing places, land, can do sexuality is pornographic or body gore. So you could argue, because none of that applies to her except for
Last part.
the last part. But the way she's doing it is like how I think of SPSO horror is more like, you know, like being eaten by a monster, like in the like conventional sense, like, or it's like, you know, just like conventional horror. Like
So I
and
have
hers
to
is
point
very
out,
sexual. Like hers is very like everything is very charged. You know what I mean? Like I just
I
can't not
agree.
see it, and I feel like if she was an SPSO director, she wouldn't have these fixations so much in her work.
I've made the decision to focus on her alone rather than her like solely her work. And yes, I agree. I think we've discussed this last time. Like her work does have SX in it, but I'm not seeing it in her as a person. And this is I thought, you know what, I'll give that more weight than her work. Because again, with work, people go to places they might not go to in their normal life, like or their artistic expression. I meant not work.
Then the whole typing with collages falls apart because that's people's art and subconscious like expression, creative expression. Like I know anybody could make a movie with sex in it or whatever, but I just feel like her stuff is so charged that it has to be coming from like her driver. You know what I mean? Like it can't just be like, I feel like when sexual blinds do it, it's more conscious, like they're consciously, and it's not as like visceral, it's not as like getting into like the dirt. I feel like I can't explain it. It's so frustrating.
Like I feel like if someone had a sex and someone would talk about their dance moves, like okay, you can play. Like she's giving nothing. She's giving absolutely no. And then you can say, okay, the interviewer was like an ugly whatever person she did not care to like do her sex thing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. You can play it.
So my first question is, what's your favorite dance move?
My favorite dance move?
You have one?
The one I do?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
You do the diver?
Oh, I would never do that. No, I think it would be something a bit hip hop.
Hip hop?
Yeah, because I used
popping
to.
and locking?
Yeah, a bit more like.
Did you break that?
I did breakdance. I did hip hop when I was like, yeah, in junior high or high school, something like for a few years, and I keep that.
Are there still videos around?
No, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
I used to do breakdance as well. Quite some. But yeah, speaking of dancing in general, I mean, it's a very big topic in your movies and in this movie. And did you put that in there to express the freedom of each character when they're dancing, or why is there a lot of
yeah, it's not so much about expressing the freedom. It's more like, for me, it's really like establishing a dialogue that can't happen with words, you know, because she doesn't talk, obviously. And he's not the most talkative person either, and he's kind of like really like inside himself for the first part when he arrives. And so yeah, for me it's really like it really appears in the film every time they have something to tell each other, when they confront each other or when they reunite and stuff. Like when they have something to tell each other, they just do it with their bodies. But I'm trying to not make it like a musical, like, you know, it pops out of nowhere. It has to be like brought up by the situation. Like for example, the first dance, he is actually trying to keep her inside to have fun, just because he needs some fun at this moment. He's so desperate, and it turns out to become a fight.
So this is Enneasite, SXSP, Hungry Ghost. Urgent bonding, unfortunate belonging, the perpetually orthogonal embrace of the seeker searcher, compelled towards the process of humanity involved. Like I feel like that's what she's describing. It's like trying to speak without words, trying to like bond, like communicate through the body. Like it just, to me, it doesn't seem like SPSO revering the work of the harvest, the beasts of the field, the fat of the land, like practical cooperation. It seems more like this penetrative experience that she's describing.
I honestly I admit that this is very difficult.
Yeah, she's tough. So the Eyeball Whisperer recommended looking at Colin Farrell.
Coincidentally, we were talking about sexual six like right before it.
Okay.
But I feel like this guy is intense.
She's pretty intense.
Like,
Yeah, pets growing up.
Ew, Kelly Clarkson. Okay, well, he's let's just watch and see how he responds to Kelly Clarkson.
maybe let's see a hotter interviewer or someone who
Well, but
I'm
that's
joking. Just
right.
just
Like,
play it. Just
like she's doing the film circuit. Have you seen Film Bros? Have you seen? I used to go to these things. They ain't good looking. I'm telling you right now. So I want to flirt with the meter. You give them one little crumb, and they're gonna be like, emailing you, DMing you, touching your side. It's so.
Oh God. Okay. Okay.
I grew up with cats, but now I'm allergic.
We grew up with dogs. Oh no!
Yeah, I love them though, but I'm just allergic. My daughter hates it. She wants a cat.
I thought I was allergic to my cats, which was about a year after having them. I only have them a year, so very recently, a couple of months ago, maybe 10 months after having them. I thought Murphy came up onto me one day, and I'd been away for a while, and I started sneezing. And I thought, oh, geez, and I looked up online. Of course, it said yes, it can come on without any warning.
Yeah.
Delayed, and I thought, oh no! But then it only lasted a
He
few.
kind of dresses like her, eh? Like black and with all these rings. I mean, I'm not getting SX off him. You know what I mean?
He's not. Yeah, he's not appealing. Like, I don't know, but he's certainly very intense and erratic to be SP Dom.
Do you think she's?
She doesn't. She doesn't feel erratic to me. She feels like just a well-adjusted person until you see her movies.
Well, maybe that's the S6w5, you know, like hidden, because you guys are like very private. So.
Oh my God. But I'm kind of agreeing that she's more of a Simflow vibe than a. Like, I feel like if I decide she's SO blind, I'm starting to maybe lean more SX SP than SPSX.
Took some antihistamine, and thank God it was grand, because there is no way I was giving them back. I had already resigned myself to being a sneezing mess for 16 years. I was like, I'll sneeze. I'm not.
Ugh, like I'm not getting magnetic off this, so you know. I guess to each their own. Maybe we're busting through misnomers about the types. Like just because you're SX doesn't mean you're sexy.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing. There are people I agree are oh, hello Chanti.
Hello.
There are people I agree who are very unpleasant who but I agree that they're SX.
Do you want to be our tiebreaker, Chanti?
I said that I could see the sexual instinct, but I don't know, because at the beginning it was sort of social and self-pressed themes, and then it moved over into sexual. I don't know, yeah, only from viewing this. So, but I could definitely see the SX stuff.
There's validity to collage typing, then her movies are a collage, then I'm leaning to SXSP.
What about her? What about the vibe she's giving off talking to people? Like this is something that maybe Chanti can pick up on more.
But couldn't you see it with like Colin Farrell? Because you can't see it with Colin Farrell.
I think you can, but I think you can in some videos. This was just a bad one. Like maybe if we get one where like he's into the interviewer, like maybe if there's other guests with him.
Yeah, but then we'd have to find one where she's into the interviewer too for that to like work on a scientific.
Why is he important?
Huh?
Why is he important?
Just because he's another example of a sexual six.
Sexual self-press six. And he's like he's not magnetic. He seems like intense, and
he has a wing 7 though, because that makes him like kind of more chaotic than her.
Is he wing 7? Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely wing 7. His face is like a meme.
He has like no humor at all. That's so terrible.
No, I mean it's terrible humor, but he's a joke. He's like a clown. Like the way his face moves, the stupid stories about cat allergies.
Oh yeah.
But she's definitely wing 5.
Also, some people's work is not like a complete representative of who they are in a way, you know? So yeah.
Sure, but it's
Because
I wish I had the vocabulary to articulate what I'm trying to see in her films, like where it's like where you can they feel different than when they're sexual blind. Like they really feel more like visceral, and you feel more.
I agree. They're well done. They're like from an insider's point of view, not from someone trying to be that. I
Yeah.
agree.
What
about like her?
If you look at Jordan Peele's stuff, right? Like I think we already talked about him, but it's like there's no penetration happening. You know what I mean? Like there's no sloppy unearthing, even though there's like horror and there's these things happening. There's no like I don't feel like I'm
shedding of skins, like changing and
violated.
shedding of skins.
Yeah, there's not like that. It almost feels like you're witnessing violation. You almost feel on some level violated watching it. Like I think.
Yeah. Okay, wait. Like Jodorowsky or whatever his name is.
Jodorowsky, yeah.
Yeah, he's also SXSP, I think. Okay. So with him, it's the same. I mean, you get like fucking violated looking at this shit. So I don't know. But I don't know these movies. Wow. Cool.
Did you get anything off that, Chanti?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like SXSP, but I don't know, I don't feel like completely confident in my own judgment to place, a verdict. But it looked pretty intense and pretty cool.
Yeah, like I'm not budging on my SXSP typing of her, so like
no, but maybe you can maybe later when there are more people available, like do it again and then ask other people's perspective. No, okay.
This is like
that is pretty cool. I don't know.
We taped it. Like we already did.
Can you go back? Can you go back to the other picture?
Oh my god, which one?
Did you? I don't know. You had something with the shiny dress. Yeah, can you show me the thing? I don't know. That's pretty cool.
Hey, this is like the shiniest thing she has ever worn.
Yeah,
I like that
black,
one.
but a lot of SPSX and SXSPs wear black a lot, so.
Yeah, I agree that the black thing is throwing me off because everything.
Yeah, a lot of black. It's true.
Yeah.
I also think like here's the other thing. Like she's conscious of like, so I'm not saying this is just 6. This is also just the way it is when you're like I mean, I think it's different now, and now it's been like female filmmaker. It's like this whole fucking annoying thing now. But like she probably also on some level has to like she's like almost I'm reading into her style choices, and I could be way off, but it's like presenting this professional thing while still being sexy, because it's like as a woman in the film industry, like a lot of women are treated, especially if they're hot, and she's hot, like they're treated just like fucking groupies. They're treated like I'm gonna either fuck you, sure, yeah, honey, I'll get you a role, and if you're not hot, you're often maybe taken more seriously or not even given. Like things are changing, and it's almost changing in the worst direction in my opinion, but yeah, so it's like I could see her adopting this sort of, she's also
the tough girl persona. Yeah, but I think that she has some SX there. I mean, come on, look at her.
Yeah, she's so hot. Like, I mean, not, like, she's magnetic to me. I'm pulled into her aesthetic. Like, I think she has like a whole look. Like, it's this compelling.
I don't know. For me, she's pretty cold though. I don't know.
Yes, that's what I feel. I feel cold. Like, I feel like she's not like she has the intense 6 stare.
Yeah.
But she's not pulling you in at all. Like it feels.
But maybe it's, and I've seen her in person too. But maybe it's like,
oh,
yeah.
Was that a TIFF?
Yeah, I went to see Raw. Like it literally cracked my brain open. I was so excited when I saw it.
Nice.
But
yeah, that was a bit an experience.
But she like very compelling. Not to say that sexual blinds aren't, but I don't even know what my point was. But well, here's the thing too. It's like, don't they say like SX is about like like pulling the people towards you want to attract and like repelling the ones that don't. So maybe you guys just aren't the people she's trying to hug.
You got it. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Because her films are very distinct in a way. I mean, it's not for everybody. She looks cool though. I mean, her clothing and her jewelry. Yeah.
She has cool jewelry always. Like even if she dresses plainly, she always has like stuff. Her hands are always full of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
She's got adornments always.
Which doesn't make me feel like maybe the jewelry is like her self-expression, and the dressing thing she's just doing on purpose, maybe. Like what Larissa was saying, how she's trying to be like professional and plain, but then the jewelry, she's like,
yeah.
She's like, oh, she's like, oh, whatever, like jewelry, I can express myself with that. Like no one is gonna focus too much on my jewelry, but it's like a secret way to express myself.
Yeah.
Secret way to be sexy. Yeah, that's true. And also like the thing is too, like when you look at this stuff, it's like she wrote and directed this, right? Like this stuff's uncomfortable. Like I can't.
Yeah, that's true. Certainly for a woman.
And there's so much sexual stuff in her thing that's like I can't really imagine like that many SPSO 6 filmmakers really just leaning into the depravity, and like there's a lot of nudity too, and there's like there's a lot of like there's this fucking fucked up scene in Raw where she like literally like pulls off part of her pussy or something. Like there's just like a lot of uncomfortable stuff that if you're a sexual blind 6, I don't know if you're gonna
go there. Yeah.
Like just be like doing that. Like that's the other.
Yeah. Okay. You have a point there.
With her, there's like a a schism between like her presentation and her movies, because her presentation doesn't seem like she has a sex at all. Like she's pretty plain, like walled off. But then her movies, it's like, oh my god, what is this degeneracy? So it feels like is she hiding parts of herself, or like parts of herself are just not showing up in interviews, or are the movies like a way for her to like express things that she's not comfortable expressing in real life?
Well, we're seeing her on like the film circuit, right? So it's hard to tell. Like again, like she's like being interviewed by fucking giant stinky nerds, like mouth breathers. Like she's probably not wanting to crank it up. Like we'd have to see her.
Yeah, and to be there probably.
You can't really find her in the wild. Like also it would be in French. So
with her, it's all professional. It's all interviews about her work.
Yeah, maybe that could indicate social blindness though. That she would doesn't even care about interviews.
Yeah, she's also 6w5, and like every 6w5 I know has like minimal online presence, doesn't like to be seen a lot, so especially online or whatever.
Exactement du moment. Je me souviens exactement de l'appartement. À ce moment-là, j'y étais seule et mon producteur m'a appelé pour me le dire. Alors lui, évidemment, je pense qu'il avait déjà eu plusieurs sélections avec d'autres courts-métrages, donc il était moins extatique que moi. Mais
so hard to tell, but she seems more like open a little bit, but she's
different here because she's talking French, I feel. She's more like fluid.
Yeah, she's less uncomfortable maybe.
Yeah.
Au final, on va le montrer qu'à notre famille et à nos copains, quoi. Tu vois, à ce moment-là. Donc, moi, c'était mon premier cours hors école, donc c'était mon premier film hors école tout court, donc j'étais encore un peu dans cette idée que personne ne verrait jamais mes films, tu vois. Et donc, tout à coup, c'est le monde s'ouvre, quoi. Genre, ah ouais, en fait, il y aura plus de spectateurs que ce que je pensais, et c'est une joie immense et une peur immense aussi, mais en tout cas, c'était un moment extrêmement marquant pour moi. Ouais. Quelqu'un de plutôt très loyal déjà dans ma vie. Et donc j'aime bien en fait quand une expérience est bien passée, ça vaut pour aussi les équipes.
I don't know. I feel like we can only milk this tit for so long. So
like she has this like weird. Did you see like that last part? Like her eyes are moving like more more interactive with the like interviewer or whoever she's speaking to. Like she's doing this coquettish like looking and looking down. Have you seen that? Maybe I'm like projecting.
Okay.
de me dire que ça allait bien se passer. Je savais que j'étais bien entourée. Donc ça, pour un premier long, c'est vachement important pour moi. Et puis, c'est vrai que...
What would push you over the edge to SXSP?
Money.
If I saw her being a hoe in real life, like in one of her interviews.
A hoe?
Sorry, Chanti.
Really? I am no hoe. How dare you?
There's a if I see her trying to like having chemistry with someone
interaction with the other human, like that she likes. Maybe that
Yes.
could be interesting.
But I'm not gonna say that SXSP is absurd. So I think that's a development.
Julia Ducournau, 6w5, 9w1, 4w3. I think she's SXSP. Vittoria thinks she's
Every time.
SPSO, but isn't 100% firm. So that is our final.
Which is what I said last time for SPSX.
So this was an entirely useless exercise, but perhaps we dug in more into the types in a way that was interesting to people. Great.
Hilarious.